All right, let's talk about Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, who I thought had a really good preseason performance. He played about a half, and I thought looked great. And so let's just talk about everything, the good, the bad, but it was mostly good. So let's just get into the film. All right, let's start off with this play. This play is going to be an interesting one, I think. So what's going to happen, and apologies for kind of the low quality. I had to crop it pretty severely because of the Aaron Rodgers interview that was taking up half the screen, so I cropped it in. But anyway, I really like this play from DTR. I thought this was a very good one. The situation is it's currently a 3rd down and 3, so that's where they're at, which you can see on the screen. Man coverage, cover one play. So on the outside, you have a one-on-one matchup. Just going to be a quick route to try and eventually cut back. And if you time this right as a quarterback, and the receiver runs a good route, this can be a completion and a 1st down. So right off the bat, a timing route in the NFL for DTR, who listen, a late draft pick, you have to get good in a hurry to stay in the NFL as a late draft pick. And while people might say, hey, you're going up against weak competition here in the second half of a preseason game, it's a lot tougher of competition than he went up against in college, right? So there still is that barrier. And as you see, DTR is going to take the snap. He fires down the field, and you're able to get that completion. Really well timed. Good stuff there by Cleveland in general. He definitely had some nice little plays, I thought. Going over to this, I do think that for the unproven rookie type guy, it's one of those things where I feel like it is relatively frequent that people will ignore the flaws and only talk about the positives. It was not all positive. There were some missed throws here. Really some bad missed throws actually from DTR. I don't know if it was just nerves or what, but like this one, easy throw. It's a layup, right? Guys running underneath the zone coverage, just hit the receiver. Pretty simple. As you see, DTR takes the snap. He looks, his tight end here has cut. So it's not like this is a communication thing, or if it was, he should have still been able to adjust at this point, or maybe not. Actually, it still is possible it was a communication thing, but he probably should have noticed it because the throw is just behind. So maybe he thought that it wasn't going to be, his tight end was just going to kind of stop there, but he probably should have been able to read it. He was in the throwing motion, but, after the tight end had already started to move towards the top of the screen, and there were a couple other just sort of, whiffs, I thought, from DTR. So, okay, something to improve upon. It was not a perfect outing. But heading over here, one thing you have to talk about with DTR is, listen, the throwing game, that's not necessarily where he thrives. I'm not saying he's terrible at it, but, I do think that, to make the comparison to another late round draft pick that was able to hang around for a bit, Gardner Minshew, what Minshew was able to do was kind of use his legs at times to make things happen. You don't have to be an elite athlete, although DTR is a much better athlete than Minshew. But if you can find just a way to get the ball down the field and find a way to elevate, your performance, that can be how you can, earn a roster spot. And so for something like this, it's a 1st down and 5, and watch what happens. DTR takes the snap. You're going to see that pressure eventually comes from both edges, but he's able to scramble out, and he's doing a nice thing here, I think, where he knows he's going to run with the football, but he's, selling as though maybe he's going to throw the football. That's what he's currently doing here. But then when he does run, he's able to pick up the 1st down and then some. He stays in bounds. Even if he did get knocked out, he still picked up a good 4 yards on that play. Would have set up a 3rd down and 1. Maybe he would have gotten the 1st down, honestly, if he had stepped out, when he was just near that sideline. But him being able to stay in and pick up more yards, just kind of, again, it goes to show what he's capable of, what the good that DTR brings to the table is. This play is obviously one that's going to make some highlight reels. This is always fun when a quarterback can do this kind of thing, and quite frankly, I do think this was smart by Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Usually in these types of situations, I say, hey, it's preseason, don't get hurt. But you know what? When it's the second half, you gotta, if you're playing in the second half of a preseason game, you have to find a way to make it on the 53-man roster. So, do what you gotta do. Anyway, here's what's about to happen. DTR takes a snap and hands the ball off. So typically, your job is done. He kind of sells as though he's going to run to the outside, which is a benefit that he has, is the fact that he can run well definitely will help out certain things. However, given the way that this play is going, the running back is actually going to bounce things to the outside right here. And so DTR says, hey, let's, show how much I want it. Let me show why I should be, on the roster here. Watch him come in, and he is going to, deliver a pretty good block here that allows them to get into the end zone for a touchdown. So that, would not have happened without that block from DTR, and it was a really good play. And again, in a vacuum, what does that mean? No one cares that you have a quarterback who can block, right? That's not something anyone pays attention to. But it shows shows heart, and it shows how much he wants it. And I think coaches will notice that and say, hey, if they are in between, like who's going to be the backup, and they're not exactly sure, they're going to give the edge to the guy who's throwing blocks in the preseason. So yeah, to me, it's a good play for sure. This play was another great one. So what's going to happen here is it's zone coverage, actually. It's a cover 2 zone, but you have basically a one-on-one matchup on the outside. What essentially is going to be a one-on-one matchup with the corner who's covering that area of the field and the receiver who's lined up against him. Right off the bat, this is a really well-ran route. To the point where the corner is currently falling down. So, okay, yes, this should be a completion here. But one thing that's worth mentioning is that not all completions are the same. Just because you throw it to the receiver doesn't necessarily mean it was a perfect throw. And what I like about this throw from DTR is not just that he made it successfully and was able to get a completion. Look at the perfect accuracy to get his receiver to be able to catch it on the run. He does not get a touchdown on that play if that was just an okay throw. So again, it's one of those things where it's not always just about level of competition or about the difficulty of the throw, because you could sit here and say level of competition, this wasn't the toughest defense he's going up against. Well, if you're throwing a dime, you're throwing a dime. It's not harder to do. If it's a perfectly accurate throw, it's just as impressive to do it when a guy was open as when no one was open or when there was just a small window. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts. I tweeted out after that first drive, which was the most impressive drive, although he showed some nice things in his other drives, that he's got to be ahead of Kellen Mond in the depth chart now. They still have Josh Dobbs in the mix. I don't know who's going to be the backup, but quite frankly, you got to consider maybe having DTR as the backup. I think that's certainly an option on the table because of how well he played. I do think that given Kellen Mond's not so great preseason performance and DTR's very good preseason performance, to me, I think if you're going to have 3 quarterbacks on the roster, you know which 3 you're going to have. And so I'm just fascinated in seeing what DTR can do from here. Again, it is worth mentioning sometimes the guys later on in the depth chart kind of get the easier task. Like I remember Taysom Hill had some really good preseason performances, being the quarterback 3 on the roster. You do kind of get, you get to play against the third stringers as opposed to the second stringers, which there is a jump there. But still, it's a first test passed, and Kellen Mond struggled against third stringers with the Vikings when he was in the preseason there. So it's the first test pass. That's really the way to look at it, and we'll see where he goes from here. At least that's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.